Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. Hope you're all doing great this Sunday morning, and welcome to this Sunday afternoon, by the way. I'm making videos a little bit later. But welcome to this new update on XRP. It's going to be quite an interesting video because we will talk about that infamous XRP breakout again and the possibilities of that. And sometimes I feel like a bit of an imposter because I go between expecting a breakout and expecting stability quite a bit. I mean, if you watch my video yesterday, then what I said was most likely is that we would remain relatively stable here around the point of control, around 2.2, right? So this chart is relatively messy here, but around that area. But things have changed. We got some, news is maybe a big word, but things have changed, and ultimately, like we always spoke about the possibility of this breakout also in multiple videos last week. And in crypto, it's always possible. And one of the things technically that we spoke about yesterday is the buildup of leverage here, which has been, gradual. It's not a very aggressive move in open interest, which is what you want to see. You don't want to see something like we saw, for example, right here, because that usually ends quite quickly as well. And that's usually just a short-term push. So now you see some gradual but continuous leverage and open interest coming into the price of XRP. The volume last week was also pretty decent, and fundamentally there's also plenty of catalysts to expect a breakout. Now, this is all not the interesting news that I wanted to talk about, which is pretty silly, but we'll get into that in a moment. But obviously, fundamentally, look, I think last week they accepted the conversion of a major grayscale trust with multiple assets in that into an ETF. One of the assets is XRP. It's very certain that we're going to get a Solana spot ETF somewhere in July, in August, right? So the XRP ETF odds are very high. Fundamentally, that's great. And then outside of that, we obviously heard about Ripple dropping their appeal, but we still need to hear about the SEC dropping their appeal, and that could also still have an impact on the price, even though I think that's the lesser momentous, the lesser bullish one compared to the ETF. But the news that we got this morning was this, and like I said, it's pretty silly, but it was High Stakes Capital, which is one of the best open crypto traders in the entire industry, saying, I have a feeling that something is brewing on XRP. I don't have any particular infos, but the price action is too strong to ignore. And you might not know this, but he has real pull in the markets, right? So that's also, I think, why we are seeing new volume and momentum coming into the markets. And that's also another reason why we can break out. Sometimes self-fulfilling, like sometimes posts like that have, some sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's also what we saw this morning with XRP USDC contracts pumping, right? So a lot of positions being opened on that. So therefore, I think we have a good chance to break out here. Do I think it's most likely that we're going to break out? Honestly, no. I think, look, it's quite easy on a Sunday after a long weekend with a tweet like this to push prices up. But ultimately, to get a real breakout here above this level between 2.32 and 2.3, you need real volume. And at this point of time, the volume is high compared to the weekend, but the volume is very low compared. It's like 1/3 of the volume we had on Monday, or 1/4 of the volume we had on Wednesday last week. So do I think it's most likely we're going to break out? Eventually, yes. I've always said I think we're going to break out up to 2.41 at some point of time. But for now, I'm not convinced. It is a possibility. I think a bullish breakout is much more likely than a bearish breakout here below 2.08, which is our last support. But for now, I think it's a little bit more likely that we will still remain in that stability around 2.18. And ultimately still above 2.08, which is the value area low. And then eventually we'll break out, and I'll try to tell you as soon as I can. But for now, I think it's a little bit too much to ask. But I'll keep you updated on that. That's it. Hopefully that helps. But for now, have a great Sunday. Take care and bye.